Hi, welcome to Victoria's Creations. And here today we have another one of my original patterns. We are doing the trophy gift card holder. So what's really cool about this is that it's the perfect size right down in there to leave small gifts, especially for the kids, right? Putting little homemade cards and pictures, but cash, gift cards, things like that. And you have this beautiful little thing to give, whether it's, say, you've got a competition going and you've got first place, or you want to make it unique, like we're going to do for this one, and put best dad and give it away for Father's Day. So really quick, to get you started on this, let's talk about the materials you're going to need. Now, as you can see, you can have this as just one solid color, and for these I did bright yellow. Or you can make it with a optional second color, contrast color here, and make it a dark base. So, oh, and you don't have to go bright yellow. As I'm going to show you in the tutorial, we're going to use this silver because I'm going to make a second place. And then I've even found a bronze. We're going to make a third place. Now, I won't do that on the tutorial, but you see that in the pictures. And then for the contrast color, I just have this brown. And I'm going to keep the same brown for my second and third place so that it all kind of goes together. But okay, so other than your yarn colors, all my crocheting patterns are US terms, and we are using a US size G crochet hook. You will need scissors, a fabric measuring tape, and then there are some spots where we put special stitch markers, so various colors, scraps of yarn, if you don't have the actual little safety pin looking things. Alrighty, to get you started, first off, what I want you to know is in my tutorials, we do not go stitch by stitch. Instead, I make my patterns for those who have adventurous skill levels, meaning it doesn't matter what your actual skill level is. If you want to make this, I got your back, right? So what I'm going to do in the tutorial is any place that may have somebody as a beginner stumped, I have your timestamps. Find me there and we'll just cover what you need to know. So I will see you in just a moment as we are going to kick off with working in the back ridges. Here we are, we've chained what we've needed. Now the back ridges, see, normally, here's those beautiful bees. You're going to flip this over and you're going to find these bumps. When you hold it aside, they're very easy to find. So you want to find the second one away from the hook, and that's where we're going to put our first single crochet. And we're working in back ridges all the way down this chain length. So again, just find the next bump. It's okay if you have to go slower to make sure you get through the entire bump instead of through the fibers. And if you're faster than this, totally awesome. All right, we all do it at our own pace. But all right, go ahead, single crochet across. The next spot that I will see you is when we are doing a single crochet decrease. And now it's time to go ahead and start doing single crochet decreases. If you've never done that before, what you're going to do is insert your hook into the very next stitch, like normal, yarn over, pull it through. Now leaving that loop on your hook, go into the very next stitch again, yarn over, pull through. That now has 3 loops on your hook. Sorry, this one kind of has that silvery thing there, but it is just 3 loops on the hook. Now you yarn over, you pull through all 3 loops at once, and you've just finished a single crochet decrease. All right, show you that one more time. So insert, yarn over, insert, yarn over, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3, just like that. And now you can just continue on with the pattern. So we will meet up again in just a little while when we do single crochet back loop only. Oh, and if you're wanting the pattern to this, the link is down in the description. All right, we've done with all the decreases, but before we can start increasing, we do need to work in the back loop only. So to show you that, first what I want to highlight is, you know how we've got these beautiful V's right there at the top. So when you are making your stitch, you normally go right there underneath both of those loops, right? When you are doing a back loop only, you'll start at the top of your work, kind of just press down towards the back and get just underneath that second loop, what we call the back loop only. So what that looks like while you're crocheting is just right here, right into the next stitch, back loop only. You still do everything the exact same. So we just made a single crochet right there, back loop only. I've only got the one loop, but I continue the stitch just like normal. And that is what you're going to do all the way across. All right, we will see each other again when we actually start to decrease, which will be in just a couple of rows. Do a single crochet increase is fairly simple. What you're going to do is you're going to work your first single crochet and then just simply go right back into the exact same stitch and make another crochet. So just one more time, we had our single crochet right there. I've just literally gone right into the exact same stitch and I've made a second single crochet. That's all there is to it. Pretty cool, right? If you are going to be doing any words onto your gift card holder, this is the spot where you're going to add in a special stitch marker right here in the last stitch made. So that's simply just adding a scrap of yarn, or if you've got one of those cool little safety pin looking things, but just like that. And then we just continue to crochet because we will come back to this in a little while. In this next part, before we actually fold this together and make it into the gift card holder, we're going to go ahead and do the cross stitching. So what you're going to need at this point is your color 1 yarn. For this silver second place trophy, I'm going to use white. You're going to need your blunt yarn needle and also your fabric measuring tape. To start off, we're going to measure out 50 inches of yarn. So as soon as you get that, go ahead, cut there. Graph that's included with the pattern shows you a blank space and then that marks all of this area. And then you'll see a red circle, and that is to show you where this special stitch marker is located. And the bottom left corner is this spot right here. So to do second, we are going to go up 3 rows. So if that was where we started, right here, we're going to go straight up 1, 2, third row. And this is where we're going to start. This spot over here, this is the front. So you want to come up from the back of it. Make sure to leave yourself a long enough tail to weave in when we're done. All right, let's start. Okay, so a 2 is going to have 4 X's across. To make your X, you go up 1 and over because we're just making the first diagonals. Go directly below it. Second diagonal. Oh yeah, we can get rid of that special stitch marker now. So we're continuing by making diagonals. When you come back, you start right directly below it. Here's our 4th diagonal. Now, we are actually going to have, let's see, 2 spaces between the bottom of the 2 and the bottom of the N. Easiest way to count that out is to go ahead and poke through, see that? And count that as 1, 2, and then you know where to start. Oops, except mine came out. There we go. All right, you're making just 1 diagonal. You're going to skip 1. So right here's what we skip, move over. 1 diagonal. Again, skip 1. So right here, that's 1. Skip it, come over here. All right, 2 diagonals. So now let's show you. We're going to finish up these X's. All right, so you immediately come right back where we've been starting, directly below, right there. And now we just do our diagonals back the other direction. And this is just simple cross stitch. Starting to wonder if white's going to show up well enough. It's probably just because I have a white background. Well, we'll find out, huh? And then the great thing is so immediately you don't have to worry about counting. Just find where your diagonal came to the top and go directly below it. But anyway, what was I saying is that by you seeing this, you'll already determine, yes, I like that. No, I don't like that. And then you don't have to do what I'm doing of like trial and error. Ta-da! It's amazing. Alrighty. So it is just as simple as that. When you are ready to go to the next row above, the top of this row is the bottom of that row. So show you here what that's going to look like. We're going to be going over one. So instead of coming right here where we ended, just simply find the next spot, and that's where we start. So you're going to go ahead and practice this. You fill in your graph for what you want to fit in there, and then I will see you at the end of creating whatever phrase you are doing here. What I want to show you here is what to do now to weave in your ends. So what that's going to look like is here on the back side. First off, you have two different ways that you can do this. We can just try to get right into the same color yarn, you know, the white threads, but I don't have a whole lot of stitches over here to easily just go through. So I'm going to show you how to surface weave in here into the silver. So go ahead and get your sharp yarn needle, a little bit of fishing line, helps very much to get your yarn onto your yarn needles. Alrighty, so what you want to do is you're going to go through the top, through the fibers, so many stitches over. But before you pull that through, you just want to verify that you don't see it coming out this way. It's not a guarantee, but it is definitely a lot better. There we go. So before we do a second round though, or a second pass, you just verify. We didn't see any white there. So that is good. Now we're going to kind of just, again, go right back through what we just did. Maybe go a few stitches farther. I don't see it poking through. And this way you can get this nice and secure without it coming through on the other side. So obviously I'm going to put this back on and do my third swipe, but you'll do that with each of these tails. And then I will actually show you what to do if you had wanted to embroider, but didn't think about it until you were already done. So I'll catch up with you in just a moment. In this part of the tutorial, what we are going to cover is, what if I've decided after I'm done that I want to put some words in there? So the good news is because when you open this up, there is so much room to be able to work. Yes, we can. So you go ahead and you go back and put that special stitch marker, you know, you count back your rows, and then you go to the graph, decide what you're going to do. On this one, we're going to put best dad. I've also included that in there. So best dad, right where this special stitch marker is actually where we're going to start. So you want to start from inside. Now, the biggest key is to always make sure that you are not getting any of this other side caught into what you're sewing. I guess this is actually cross stitching, but all right, get your, there it is, blunt yarn needle to come out there. And then we can get rid of the special stitch marker. And this one, we're going to do 2 diagonals. Make sure you keep a tail for later on for weaving in. All right. So it's going to be just a bit more time consuming to just double check that you're where you need to be, but it's very doable. All right, right below it. There's one diagonal made, second diagonal made. All right, so this is literally the exact same way, just, you know, you've got to put your hand in and out of this cup over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to finish up this row and I'll meet you back before we start the second row because there's a little tip that I want to show you. Here we are, we're finishing up the last cross stitch of the first row. All right, now the very next one goes directly above it. And that means we'd have to come right out where we just went in. And so we'd undo everything. So here's the tip I'm going to show you. Now, obviously, this is a little easier when you don't have to fold it down, but it's all the same. Just come in here and get underneath a previous stitch, but make sure you're only getting underneath on this side, that you're not getting in any of the main color stitches. And when you do this, literally that is anchoring down your yarn. There we go. And we can come right back out. Oh, okay. And we can come right back out there, and we're not going to undo anything. So that's just a really neat little trick when you have directly above, so you don't undo anything. But okay, guys, everything's going to be the exact same. You're going to do all your diagonals, come back. It's just that you have to go a little bit cautious. Make sure you're not getting anything in there. When you are ready, you will fold everything like this. You will weave in your ends, and then you are done with this one. But all right, we need to get back to finishing up here. So now that we have taken the time to embroider that, this is where you fold it over. So where we had gone through back loops only, and now we have these open loops, just folds really well right there on top of itself. And you have these two layers together, and we're going to work down this side. You're going to insert your hook right here in the side of the stitch that you have just made. And you are going to insert your hook through the side of this stitch over here. But don't let your yarn go behind it. Okay, now complete your single crochet just like normal. And this is what we're going to do all the way down. So here's your second one right here, the next stitch. Go completely through both layers. Just like that. Now in this, we're going to be putting a special stitch marker. I will see you at that moment. We've done 18 single crochets down the side of this. This is marking our first stitch on the side. We'll need that for later. But you're going to be putting a special stitch marker in the 13th stitch. So just count that down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right there. And then we're going to put just a scrap of yarn in that spot to mark that stitch. We'll come back to that later on for another purpose. Now, next, what we're going to be doing is you're going to be working along the bottom in those open loops left from earlier when we did back loop only. So insert your hook right here into this first open loop, and you're going to do a single crochet increase. So that's one and one more in the exact same spot. And now you have 4 across. And this last open loop, we're going to work another single crochet increase. Again, we have another special stitch marker. So that was in that first increase. If you can visually find it with ease, no problem right there, or you can count it backwards. You know, we just did an increase. There's 4 and an increase right there. So again, just another stitch marker. To mark that spot. Okay, so what's going to happen here is you again are going to work up this side, going through both layers. So just fold it, you know, or hold it, sorry, hold it on top of itself to line things up. And you will do your 18 stitches. You'll also end up with another special stitch marker right in that spot. So see it again in a moment. So here we are. And we've gone up the side. We've put in our special stitch marker D. You're now up here and it tells you to work around the back layer only. So go ahead, open this up. And our first thing to do is to find this first stitch right in there. It's kind of, because it was our chain, things kind of got pulled. Just take your time, find it though, and get that back loop only. And we are doing an increase right here. And this spot, you also want to go ahead and put your first stitch a marker so that we know where to end when we come back around. You're going to continue working back loop onlys all the way around here. You'll turn and continue along the rim right here. This is here to help you make sure you do not go into the side stitch. So we're going to completely avoid that. I'll show you over here in just a moment. So here we are, and we have kind of have this section, right? But this gap was where we're seaming. This one has marked our first stitch on the seam, meaning you can kind of like by deduction find your next stitch to work on right there. And this one, we're also working a single crochet increase into. You can get rid of that one now. Okay, go ahead, continue around with back loop onlys right there to our first stitch. So here we are back at that stitch marker, and a slip stitch to join is simply insert your hook here, yarn over, and when you come out, you're going to immediately go through the loop. That creates a slip stitch. No height, it's perfect for joining. In all of my patterns, your first stitch always goes into the next stitch, not the joining, but the very next one. So here's our first one. And your pattern tells you that here we're doing a single crochet increase, then a single crochet, and then we are repeating that same combination 20 times. So let me get my stitch marker moved. So that was one. And literally, here we go. Second increase, second solo. Third increase, third solo. So continue that around after 20 times. I'll meet you back there. Now we are in row 44, and you have already chained your 22. And here we're starting to work again in back ridges, and we're doing half double crochets. So if you haven't yet done a half double crochet, what you do is you yarn over, then insert your hook, yarn over again, pull it through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops at once. And that's a half double crochet. Go ahead, do that again, yarn over, insert into that back ridge, yarn over, 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So what you're going to do is we've done the first half double crochet. You're doing a total of 19 more. We've done 2 to come all the way down this chain, which is going to create your handle. And I'll see you right back here when we go back to working on the rim. Now that you've finished up your handle, right? All you want to do is you just want to find where you were working in the rim in just the very next stitch and just go right back into creating that, which was a single crochet decrease, back loop only. All right, but that way you're just, see how that just brought the handle right back up to the rim? Everything was just fine. All right, guys, you have now completed the body of this. You have 3 special stitch markers waiting for later, but right now we're going to focus on this rim. To do that, I have already put the blunt yarn needle onto the tail. And because of all of these open loops, it's going to make folding this down much easier. We're going to go here. That first set of open loops right here is what we're going to sew underneath. And what you're going to do here is you're going to fold this part of the rim to itself. You know, just fold, mush it down. When we are doing this part, you will work underneath these loops of the last row that we just did. But when you're sewing it, what you're doing is you're coming back out and you're going to be coming underneath that open loop. There we go, just like that. And that's going to help keep this very even throughout the whole thing. So next open loop, then verify that we're coming out. Yep, with those 2 loops on that stitch. We're going to work all the way across to a handle, and I'll show you what we do there. We've made it to the first handle. What you want to do is you fold the handle up, and then we just take a few stitches and anchor this handle onto the rim. Go ahead, work all the way through the entire rim. I would suggest at least 4 stitches. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's probably going to actually end up with 5 or 6. But what you're wanting to do is you are positioning these handles to stay right here, and that keeps it a nice clean line on that rim. And also what we want to do is we want to make things look as smooth as possible as we go from one side to the next. So if you want, you can take a little bite. Oops, come on. As you go across, that's what one of my sewing instructors called those little stitches, were little bites. But okay, and then right here, and we're still working through the stitch, but see how I don't have a long line of yarn going all the way across? That's what taking that little stitch or the little bite helped us create. What we want to do is we're coming back down to the bottom of this. And when we take a look at this, we're not low enough yet for these open loops. So go ahead, find a spot, feed it back through that handle. We're folding everything down. Now let's see if we found, all right, and yep, we can be right there underneath that open loop. All right, you'll continue around, finishing up this rim, doing the exact same thing to this handle. Our next step, now that we've got the rim created and the handles, you know, attached to the rim securely, is we're going to anchor down the handles here at these special stitch markers that are on the side. And that's the only purpose they were there, is to help us know where to put these handles. Next thing I really want to point out is this is the front side. Even if you don't have words, how you can tell is because you can see those V's created by the stitches. Whereas on the back, they just kind of roll up. So this is the back side, wrong side. These are the V's. So, all right, this is what's left over of that tail after our rim. You're going to literally just kind of lay this very tip right here on top of that stitch. Once you've got it pinched down, I would move that special stitch marker out of the way. Go ahead and feed through, making sure you're getting through the handle and the actual body. Of course, leave yourself a tail to weave in. And at this point, what you're doing is you're just finding a few spots that you can feed it back and forth through. Because we want this anchored. You want this to be able to be held and it to be secure. But we don't want to eat up too much of this handle onto the body, because then it actually just doesn't look proportional. It doesn't look like a trophy anymore. But okay, you'll go ahead, anchor around on this edge too. You'll do the same thing over here. And once you have both of those spots finished, we'll meet up to create the base. Here we are. All that is left is to now do your base. To do that, we're going to turn your work. We're going to go down here to our remaining special stitch marker. If you've never attached yarn before, here's how we do it. Insert your hook where we're going to do so, and at this point you can get rid of that special stitch marker. Grab your main color. I would recommend leaving a long enough tail. You definitely want to leave one long enough to weave in. I personally like to crochet over it the first row and then still have some to weave in, so that's why mine's this long. But okay, to attach your yarn, you're going to grab the yarn, pull it through, and then do a chain. Tighten that, and now what you have done is literally just anchored it to your work. This is not a stitch. In this pattern, you're going to insert your hook into the same stitch as joining, so the same spot, yarn over and work your crochet, your single crochet, just like that. We're going to work this row, which is just 7 more single crochets. That's what I meant. Now I still definitely have a long enough tail to weave in, but over here, things are nice and tight together. I don't have a lot of loose looking loops. All right, I will see you at the optional switching colors to change to the contrast. When you're going to switch colors, a trick is on your last crochet, your last stitch with the main color. Leave the loops on your hook, grab your contrast color, and finish the stitch. Now what that did is your entire crochet stitch, regardless of whatever size stitch you made, as long as it's the last part, your entire stitch is the same color as the main color, but now you are all ready to go with your next color. At this point, you would just cut the main color so that you can get that out of the way and crochet as normal. Again, if you want to just leave these off to the side to weave in, or you want to weave crochet over them, if you're going to crochet over them, make sure that you're keeping your stitches nice and tight, and that way things don't get seen through the stitches. Last but not least is just weaving in all these ends. So if you have access to a bit of fishing line and you can just fold that in half, makes a great way to thread your sharp yarn needle or your yarn needles, but takes all the hassle out of this. All right, I will demonstrate. If you've never wove in ends, weave in your ends. On this one here, what you're going to do is you want to get through the fibers itself. You don't want to be like when we're crocheting and get nicely underneath loops. You want to go through things. And you want to get through at least 3 stitches, if not a little bit more. If you have flat nose jewelry pliers, this does help to pull that through if it gets a bit difficult. All right, we've done one. Go back through a second time. Again, you're wanting to make sure it's in those stitches, it's through the fibers itself. All right, third time, and then that's it. We're gonna snip our yarn. There we go. Get as close to it as you can. And that's all it takes, guys.